Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then please do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. So, the Cleveland Browns won a football game. I know, shocked, I'm shocked, you're shocked, we're all shocked. We shouldn't be that shocked, because the Las Vegas Raiders might be, they're even worse than the Cleveland Browns. This is a very bad team that we beat yesterday, but a win is a win. I know some people, let's just say, might not be too pleased with this win. Obviously, with draft position and factoring everything of that in. But I'm pleased. I know a lot of people are pleased. As I said, we have finally won a game. Our third game of the season in just 11 attempts. That is our sixth game in the past 2 seasons in just 28 attempts. We finally won a game on the road. The Browns defense finally travelled, actually went with them on the road. And we had a rookie quarterback win his first start for the first time in over 17 attempts that the Browns have tried that. So as I said, it might be not great for draft position, all of that stuff. Hell, I might even be moaning about that come April. But sometimes you just need some good vibes. You just need some good vibes, and nothing creates good vibes more than winning in the NFL, and not just winning, but dominating, which is what the Cleveland Browns, especially the Cleveland Browns defense, did to the Raiders yesterday. We pulled up to their crib and took their chains. That is basically what we did yesterday. I'm, of course, going to talk about the defensive performance. I'm, of course, going to talk about Shedeur Sanders, how his debut went, his first start in the NFL. I'll maybe timestamp it if anyone wants to jump straight ahead to the Shedeur bit. I know some people on here watching this probably are only here because of Shedeur, which is absolutely fine. I appreciate anyone that clicks on these videos. But before I get to Shedeur, I promise I won't take too long before I get to him. I do just want to talk about Myles Garrett and this defense, because they stole the show yesterday. And, Shedeur Sanders, as we'll get to, impressed in areas in this game. When you are Shedeur Sanders, you've got literally the President of the United States tweeting about how well you played and how people were stooping from passing on you. We all know everything that goes into that. So it's quite hard to steal that, any light from that show. But the Browns defense stole the show yesterday. I mean, this was one of the better Browns defensive performances we might have ever seen. And don't get me wrong, yes, we were going up against Geno Smith and a Raiders offensive line that is arguably worse than ours. The commentators did say during the broadcast that none of those Raiders offensive linemen would start for the Browns, which I think might have been going a little bit too far. But I understand their point that Raiders offensive line is probably worse than the Cleveland Browns. Geno Smith, one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL this year. It was always going to be a recipe for disaster for the Raiders if the Browns D-line, Browns defense was able to travel, something that they've not really been able to do. Pretty much under Jim Schwartz the last few seasons. But boy, did they today. And it starts, obviously, with Myles. I mean, it starts with the whole defensive line. 10 sacks yesterday from the defensive line. 1 away from the Browns' record of 11. They were trying their hardest to get it, I'm sure. I mean, we punted inside the 30-fucking-yard line. I think that's the first time I've ever seen a punt inside the 30-yard line, and I'm there going, I know what you're doing. You just want to give that D-line another run at Geno. You just want to give Myles another chance to add to the already 18 sacks that he has. So that is where I'm going to start, because I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm running out of adjectives. I'm running out of nice things to say about Myles Garrett. We are witnessing the best player to ever play for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to just say it. I know people are going to disagree with me, but I'm going to just say it. He is the most talented player to ever wear brown and orange. Otto Graham, Jim Brown, the legends before him. If you want to talk greatness and that stuff, yes, of course, those guys have rings. You want to talk greatness and career greatness, all of that stuff, I completely understand that. But when we are just talking about talent, individual talent, this is the best player to ever play for the Cleveland Browns. This is one of the best pass rushers in NFL history. This is arguably the best player in the NFL right now. And I don't say any of that lightly. It is absolutely insane what Myles Garrett is doing this season. He has 18 sacks and 26 tackles for loss in 11 fucking games. It is just insane. He now broke his own record, by the way, for most sacks in a season by a Cleveland Brown with 18, and he did it in 11 games. If you look at the Browns' 5 highest sack totals in a season, it's Myles Garrett after 11 games. Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett has had more sacks in the last 4 games than any Browns player has had in a season since 1999. I can't put into words what this man is doing. It is absolutely insane. He should be the Defensive Player of the Year after Week 11. He is now 4.5 sacks away from tying the record, 5 sacks away from breaking the record. We've still got 6 games left to play. We've still got the Titans to play. We've still got the Bengals to play. That record might get absolutely smashed. And if he does break the record, he will win Defensive Player of the Year, regardless of the team's record. And that just shows you how good this guy is. Because if the Browns were in like a playoff spot right now, he would genuinely be number 1 in the MVP ranking. I can't express enough how fucking good Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett. Don't get me wrong. He has always been Myles Garrett. And a lot of what we're seeing this year is because of the pieces around him. But even with that being said, it's insane. I didn't think Myles Garrett could go up a gear. I didn't think the best pass rusher I've ever seen could go up a gear. And he's gone up a gear. It's just absolutely a joy to watch. Every week we are blessed to watch Myles Garrett. I've said it. I said it in the off-season. The whole trading stuff. Oh, but we're not going to win with Myles Garrett. I don't give a fuck. I'm selfish. I would rather watch Myles do what he does and us finish 3-14 every year than watch him go play somewhere else and be successful somewhere else. I don't care. I love Myles Garrett too much to ever entertain that. And I hope that after this season, people are watching Myles Garrett, and anyone that even suggested trading him are going, yeah, that was a stupid idea. You would never in a million years get even close to the value for Myles Garrett. He is one of one. There is no comparison. He is the best player in the NFL right now, and he plays for our Cleveland Browns. Just that, you've just got to be thankful. You've got to be thankful. No matter what the record, whatever, we get to watch Myles Garrett every week. And as I said, he's been the actual advanced numbers, pass rush, win rate, all of that stuff, double team rate, chip rate, all of that stuff is pretty much the same as it is most, every year with Myles. But as I said earlier, the biggest difference this year with obviously Myles going up a gear is the interior help that he has not had his entire career. I tweeted this out, I think last week. It did the rounds on Twitter. I think my most viewed and interacted with tweet because, Steelers fans found it. TJ Watt has never been better than Myles Garrett. Like, he's never been better than him. He's just played with better talent, which has obviously increased his production. He's had Cam Hayward, a 4-time, not Pro Bowler, All-Pro. I know Steelers like to bring up Zadarius Smith's Pro Bowl from a few years ago that he played next to Myles Garrett. 4-time All-Pro, one of the best defensive tackles of his generation on the interior, next to TJ Watt. Go look at the best years that TJ Watt had. How many sacks did Cam Hayward have those years? Quite a lot of sacks. This is the first year that Myles Garrett has had interior help, and that is why we are seeing what we are seeing. And yesterday, boy, did the interior get involved. The interior generated most of the pressure yesterday. You could actually argue that the interior basically led to 2 of Myles' sacks yesterday. Mason Graham, Malik Collins, Shelby Harris, even Cam Thomas in the middle. They were all balling. I mean, Malik Collins, wow, he has broke his personal record. He now has 6.5 sacks, I believe, on the season as a defensive tackle. Mason Graham would have like 8 sacks right now if the other guys on the defensive line didn't keep stealing his sacks from him. But the interior was so good yesterday. Isaiah Maguire was so good yesterday. Anyone that watched my Alex Wright video, you know how much I love Alex Wright and Isaiah Maguire. I feel so redeemed almost this year with how well these two are playing. When I was there in the offseason saying the Browns do not need to sign an edge because they've got Isaiah Maguire and Alex Wright. The Browns defensive line absolutely feasted yesterday. It was just an absolute joy to watch. We had a sack from Isaiah Maguire. We had a sack from Cameron Thomas. 3 sacks from Myles Garrett. Half a sack from Mike Hall, 2.5 sacks from Malik Collins, half a sack from Shelby Harris, and then half a sack and a full sack from linebackers Jerome Baker and Devin Bush, who I just want to give a shout out, by the way. Devin Bush is playing his best football. It's really good to see. This is a guy that, yes, coming out of the college that he came out of, obviously I did not like the college that he came out of, but a guy that I really liked coming out, that his rookie year set the NFL on fire. I was like, yep, that's why I liked him. And then obviously the injury stuff fell off a cliff. It's always a shame when you see a player of that talent level, get injured and not be able to kind of recreate that level of play. But, since he's been in Cleveland, and this year especially, Devin Bush has been able to rediscover that play. He has been fantastic. 9 tackles in this game, tackle for loss, sack as well. It's been an absolute joy to watch Devin Bush turn his career around in Cleveland, and I hope he's here to stay because he generally has been really impressive, and he's still not that old. I think he's only 28, 29, so still a few more years to get out of him. But I suppose while I am on the defense, I will do the whole defense as a whole. So as I said, obviously those linebackers coming up and helping that defensive line. We pretty much shut down their run game. Ashton Gentry had 50 yards in this game on 17 carries, which, by the way, is just why, nothing against Ashton Gentry at all. But this is why you don't, and I was saying to Browns fans, you don't draft a running back in the top 10 when you have so many holes on your roster. Like, that's something you do if you're like the Eagles and you made a trade and you got someone else's first round pick and it somehow fell into the top 10 and you can just add a running back. You don't draft a running back top 10 when your team is that bad and you've got that many holes in your team. So that was just a very odd move from the Raiders to do that, and why I just absolutely laughed at anyone suggesting that the Browns should have drafted a running back in the top 10. We drafted Quinshon Judkins in the second round, and he statistically has been better than Ashton Gentry this season. Not saying he is better, but has statistically been better. But as I was saying, linebackers also impressive in this game. Carson Schwessinger continues his defensive Rookie of the Year campaign. Once again, led the team in tackles. 11 total tackles, 6 solo tackles, had a tackle for loss in this game as well. Not his best game, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about a guy that it wasn't his best game and he still led the team in tackles, had a tackle for loss and was great. He is that good, and we should have that high of expectations for Carson Schwessinger. And then the secondary as well impressed me yesterday as well. Tyson Campbell, 10 tackles out of the corner position, 7 solo tackles. It is just so nice seeing a hard-hitting corner, I can't lie. After what we've had the last few years with obviously Greg, who got benched in that Jacksonville game yesterday, Tyson Campbell is a joy to watch with his tackling ability. And, we've joked about it since the trade. It's not a joke. The Browns absolutely fleeced the Jaguars. I have no idea why they decided to give up a corner under a pretty good contract, pay him all his guarantees to get rid of him, just to bring in Greg Newsome for half a year. Don't quite understand why they did that. Someone might have to go and ask Gladstone themselves. And then, obviously, Denzel in this game as well. He had that one crazy pass breakup in the back of the end zone. which would have been a touchdown. I know that the commentators were trying to say that Geno was late, etc. Like, yes, he was late, but that still would have been a touchdown if Denzel didn't get the pass breakup, and also had another one in this game as well. He is the pass breakup king. But defense, just so good to see this defense be able to go on the road and travel. So impressed with everyone on this defense. This was one of those games where, they all get praise. No one was carrying the load for anyone. They were all carrying the load for themselves. They were incredible. It started with the D-line with, one of the better performances we've ever seen from a Browns D-line. And then obviously all the way through into that secondary as well. Now, Shedeur Sanders. I know 15 minutes it took me to talk about Shedeur Sanders. I am very, very sorry. Shedeur Sanders. So there was a lot of obviously discourse going into this game. I did a whole video, a whole segment in the preview explaining how there's been a misconception around what people like myself have been saying this past week with Shedeur in relation to anything we were saying along the lines of if Shedeur plays bad in this game but the Browns win, then that's not really a great outcome because you've not answered any of the questions at quarterback. But you've obviously taken yourself further away from drafting one. And don't get me wrong, Shedeur Sanders didn't answer those questions for me. I'm not sat here going, yep, that's the franchise quarterback. Cool, we're sorted. But he did impress me, and he showed me, I said before that he should get the rest of the season anyway, but what I saw yesterday just amplifies that. There is absolutely zero reason why Shedeur Sanders should not get the rest of the season. I saw enough yesterday to know that should be the case. As I said, it wasn't jump out of the screen amazing. He didn't throw for 5,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. He completed 11 of his passes, 11 or 20 passes, so only just over 50% of his passes, 209 yards, 1 touchdown. The interception was pretty bad. I need to go back and watch it again, but on the broadcast, it looked pretty bad. And he only took 1 sack. But that is kind of what I was impressed with Shedeur, is that going into this game, the worries, the concerns were the sacks, were not necessarily interceptions, but bad decisions, etc., etc. Running around behind the line of the scrimmage, stuff that, a lot of us have talked about since his time at college. And we, outside of that 1 interception, which, he's a rookie. Rookies make mistakes. You can quite easily put that on the fact that he's a rookie. Outside of that, we didn't see any of those things that concerned me about Shedeur Sanders. As I said, he only took 1 sack, and it was for only 3 yards. Usually his sacks in college, he'll take a sack and it's 2nd and 25. Yesterday was 2nd and 13. So I was impressed with Shedeur Sanders. As I said, don't get me wrong, this is not a grand endorsement of me saying that we have the franchise quarterback. I know maybe some people will be running with that, but I was impressed in what I saw. The pass to Isaiah Bond, that's just a pass that Dillon Gabriel is not making. That is a pass that only someone that, A, the talent level, and B, the confidence that a Shedeur Sanders has can make. That was an absolute hell of a throw. Obviously, we all saw the Myles Garrett reaction to it. He was obviously very happy with it. But I actually think the best play that Dillon made yesterday was the 3rd and 12, backed up within our own 5-yard line, where he stood strong in the pocket, and layered that ball to Harold Fanning. Because, if he just tried to dart that in there, he wouldn't have been able to catch that. It would have got tipped. He was able to just float it over the defender with enough touch on it to perfectly land, not just in Harold Fanning's hands, but in motion, so he could catch it and keep going forward, which you obviously need when you're 3rd and 12. And that allowed Harold Fanning to go and get that 1st down. That was probably the most impressive play that I had with Shedeur. Yes, the deep balls, the passes and stuff, they're great. Obviously, we're Browns fans. We've seen 120-plus fucking pass all season. So, of course, that stuff is great. But it's seeing the guy make NFL decisions, make NFL throws, what impresses me. And that play stands out more than any. Being able, as I said, being able to stand in there, stand in the pocket, step up in the pocket, avoid the initial pressure, and deliver that ball with touch was really impressive. And so as I said, I mean, I don't want anyone to get carried away, because as I said, we've not answered any of the questions at quarterback. The Browns still might be drafting one next April. We don't know. But he hasn't done anything that makes me go, oh no, we've won a game. We took ourselves further away from draft position, and he was terrible. He was not terrible. I said the thing, if he's mid and we win, that's not great. I wouldn't even class this as mid. I would say this is impressive. This is a rookie making his first start. He's a 5th round pick, and I know people might say, but Ollie, you told me that you weren't interested in moral victories and all that stuff. I don't think this is a moral victory. I generally think for Shedeur Sanders, what he's been through this season, what he's had to get through to get here, I was impressed with what I saw yesterday. Don't get me wrong, I want to see a lot more. This was against the Raiders. They're not very good. I obviously want to see what this looks like against a much better team than the Raiders. But, as I said, what he did impressed me. I saw enough to make me know that, yes, he should start the rest of the way. Dylan, as I said in the preview, he's a 3rd round pick. I didn't expect him to be the future franchise quarterback. I expected him to be, at best case, a good backup. I think he can be that. But what I know for sure is that he's not the franchise quarterback. I don't know if Shedeur is, but I can't sit here and tell you after the first game that he's not. And I think that is a good thing. I think that's probably one of the best things you could have taken away from this game. None of us were going to walk away from this game going, yes, like that's, we found the franchise quarterback. I don't think it matters how well he would have played in this game. It's one game against the Raiders. None of us were going to, okay, I say none of us. Most of us were not going to get that carried away. So, as I said, shouldn't be getting carried away. Still plenty of answers and plenty of things that I need to see from Shedeur, especially against a better opponent. The Browns' offense still wasn't great EPA per play, still wasn't great success rate. I don't put a lot of that on Shedeur. I put a lot of that on the game plan, especially in the second half. But what I saw from Shedeur impressed me. I want to see more, and I want to see him start the rest of the way. Really happy for him, because it's annoyed me because this discourse and some of the things that I've said about it, I've kind of been labelled by some people as someone that doesn't like Shedeur Sanders. I love this kid. I think he's an amazing kid. I've said since before the draft, after we draft him, I love his attitude. I love his demeanour. I love everything about him. The biggest problem with him is the outside stuff. It's got nothing to do with him as a person or as a player. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want him at number 2 overall. I had him as a fringe, late 1st round, early 2nd round prospect that we got in the 5th round. I was so happy with that pick. Of course I was. Take a flyer on a guy that I had a late 1st round, 2nd round grade on in the 5th round, of course. So I just want to sum that up one more time. I have always supported this kid, will continue to support this kid. I'm really impressed with his attitude. I'm really impressed with his demeanour. He has done everything the right way. He has put his foot in the right direction ever since he walked through that building in Berea. So I'm happy for him to get his first win. I really am. And I hope that he can kick on the rest of the season and go and show this team that he can be a franchise quarterback. Because as I've always said, that is the best case scenario for this team. The offense as a whole, I mean, I kind of mentioned it there earlier. It wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. This offense wasn't blowing us away or anything like that. But the coolest thing that we got from this offense, other than obviously Shedeur impressing, was that we are now the first team in NFL history to have 5 rookies finish a game with over 40 scrimmage yards. Shedeur Sanders in this game, obviously 209 passing yards, -1 rushing yards. I swear he had a scramble in this game, but clearly not. But as I was saying, Shedeur Sanders over 40 scrimmage yards. Quinshon Judkins over 40 scrimmage yards. Dylan Sampson over 40 scrimmage yards. Isaiah Bond over 40 scrimmage yards. And Harold Fanning over 40 scrimmage yards. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rookies with over 40 scrimmage yards in one game. This rookie class continues to impress, continues to give you reasons to be excited about them. And this game kind of accumulated all of that excitement. You've got the quarterback in there, the rookie quarterback. You've got the 2 rookie running backs. Quinshon, yes, 16 carries for 47 yards doesn't look great. His longest run was 11 yards. But as I've said every week now, it's kind of hard to evaluate. I know Quinshon Judkins is good. Like, I don't need to sit here and nitpick stuff about, carries and yards per carry. He's playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. So, I know that Quinshon Judkins is good, regardless of what any of the advanced stats are going to say, because of obviously the efficiency stuff playing behind such a bad offensive line. But he had 2 touchdowns in this game, 2 touchdowns out of the Wildcat. I think they ran him out of the Wildcat more times than Shedeur completed passes in this game. And that's got to be quite daunting. I know maybe as a running back, and people might just say I'm soft because I'm a British guy and, I didn't grow up playing running back. But if I'm a running back and I'm stood there in the Wildcat with the whole defense in front of me, it's going to be a little bit daunting where I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to run straight through that. And obviously Quinshon Judkins scored the 2 touchdowns in this game. Dylan Sampson didn't do much in the run game, although he did actually have a 26-yard. Quite funny, right? Dylan Sampson's longest run was 26 yards, yet he finished with 23 yards. That's just because of how much these guys were getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Because as I said, the Browns' offensive line, especially their run blocking, is not great. But Dylan Sampson, of course, as we all know, took that one screen for Shedeur Sanders' first career touchdown, 66 yards to the house, showed his burst, showed the things that, some of us have been excited about with Dylan Sampson. We got that first couple of weeks where we saw a little bit of him and we were like, oh, we might have something here. He obviously got kind of put a little bit on the shelf while Quinshon came back, not being used in the ways that he should have been used. But this is how you use Dylan Sampson. You get him the ball in space and watch him work. He is fast, and he showed that with that run. I mean, as soon as he got going, he caught the ball, took about 5 steps, and I was like, touchdown. That's a touchdown. No one's catching him. He is that fast. If the Browns can figure out on offense how to use these guys together going forward, that's a great running back pair, and it really is. Harold Fanning, again, same with some of these other guys, I'm running out of nice things to say about him. This man is 21 years old and only just turned 21 this past July. He is going to be 21 the whole season. And he's a tight end, one of the hardest positions to translate to in the NFL. And he is playing as well as anyone not named Tyler Warren from this draft. He has been incredible. His ability to pick up extra yards, and especially, he doesn't even have the biggest frame. He runs like his shoelaces are tied, yet he somehow he's so hard to bring down. Like, every time he gets the ball, you won't see him come down until there's 4 or 5 defenders on him. It's so impressive. He continues to impress. The Browns have got one hell of a tight end for the future in Harold Fanning. I've said this before. He was my biggest draft crush this year. It's very rare that the Browns ever actually draft my draft crushes. They finally did it this year, and he has done nothing but prove me right. I am so impressed with Harold Fanning. And Isaiah Bond, I briefly mentioned earlier, was nice to see him get involved in this game. That's what he can do with a quarterback. He is a deep threat. He is someone that can get down the field. Maybe probably should have scored the touchdown on that pass, but I'm not going to nitpick a guy that has obviously had as limited opportunities as he has had in his rookie season. 2 targets, 2 catches, 58 yards with a long of 52. That's what Isaiah Bond is supposed to look like when he's playing with a quarterback. And obviously Shedeur Sanders was able to unlock that for him. Credit to him getting open. That was a scramble drill. So sticking with your route, staying with the route, not giving up on the play, continuing to run your route, get open for your, basically give your quarterback a chance to make a play. That's what you did. Shedeur was able to make that play, and it ended up being one of the best plays, that the Browns have had all season. It was the longest passing play we've had all season. So offense, as I said, don't get me wrong, there's not much here to get that, like, to sit here and say, wow, we absolutely dominated the Raiders on offense. We didn't. We really didn't. I think we had 9 first downs in this game. We only had the ball for 23 minutes. But what we did see from the rookies, really great. What I saw from Shedeur Sanders, I'm impressed with. But as I said, they just weren't on the field, and that's because that's how the Browns won this game. I mentioned it earlier, but to sum this up, that's how the Browns won this game, was just by playing unbelievable defense. They wanted the Raiders' offense to be on the field just so they can keep abusing them. As I mentioned earlier, they punted inside the 30-yard line. The Browns were really, really happy, not taking risks in this game, not letting them get back into the game through your own mistakes, i.e. picks, fumbles, etc. And they were happy to just give the ball to the Raiders every time and just go, okay, I dare you. I dare you to try and do something against this defensive line. And what happened? Geno Smith was sacked 10 times in this game. So that's how the Browns won this game. That should be the story of this game. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, we're all going to be talking about Shedeur, as we should. He was a rookie making his first start. He was the first rookie in 17 attempts to win their first start for the Browns. We should be talking about that for sure. But we should also, just as, if not more, be talking about this defensive performance, because they are the reason why the Browns won this game. As I said, they were happy. I mean, Shedeur only threw the ball 20 times. Yes, I did get slightly annoyed, in the second half when we did the whole kind of, pass, run, or run, pass shit that Kevin likes to do when he gets too conservative. And he's happy to just keep punting the ball back. This game, it didn't matter because, as I said, this defensive line was abusing the Raiders' offensive line and Geno Smith. So it didn't really matter. But in other games, when it's a little bit closer, I don't like doing that. We've got Shedeur Sanders in there. I want to see what he can do. Just let him cook. Let him. If it looks bad, so be it. At least we get a better evaluation of him. But obviously, in this game, you can see why they wanted to do that, because they wanted to obviously give Shedeur, not as easy, but not put him in tough situations as a rookie, and instead rely on their defense that was playing absolutely lights out, and that's what they did. So, yes, as I said at the start, some people might be annoyed that this obviously, I mean, the Browns went from having the 3rd pick to now having the 6th pick after this win. Completely understand that. I might even be in April looking back going, shit, why did we win that Raiders game? But as I said, right now, in the moment, I can't sit there in front of my TV and root for my team to lose. I just can't do it. I was there with my wrists up, cheering Shedeur Sanders, cheering this Browns defense, cheering Myles Garrett, and was happy to see the win, was happy to see, obviously, the performances that we saw. And as I said, sometimes, draft position be damned. Sometimes you just need a win and you need some good vibes. And I think that's what we got. If the Browns won this game, win this game on a field goal and they didn't really play well, I probably wouldn't be saying this. I'd probably be saying, why the fuck did we not just lose that game? But as I said, to get a win in the way that they did, in the manner that they did, it brings good vibes into the organisation. We all saw that defensive line smiling on the sideline, smiling in the locker room. We all saw that offense with Shedeur smiling. Sometimes you just need some good vibes, and that's what this win did. So happy with the win, happy with Shedeur's performance. So impressed with the Browns' defensive line. Every single guy on that D-line, other than Shelby Harris, is back next year, guys. So let's figure this offense out and let's ride, because this defense is ready to win now. But that's my thoughts on the game, guys. Let me know your thoughts. How impressed were you with the defense? What week do we think Myles is going to break the record? Is it going to be week 14, week 15? As long as he does it before the final week, so people can't do the whole 17 games bullshit, I'll be happy. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are on the win, on Shedeur, all of that good stuff. But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my content, please drop this video a like, hit the subscribe button. It's free, but it really, really helps out my channel. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can follow and interact with me on social media. I'm always good fun on game days on Twitter, I promise. So if you're interested in that, come give me a follow. But most importantly, as always, I'm trying to build a community of Cleveland Browns fans, and even if that means I only get to talk to one fan a day, I'm happy, because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world, and I truly, truly mean that. Thanks again for watching, guys. Enjoy this Victory Monday, enjoy this Victory Week, but most importantly, go Browns.